God spell is what I like to call um, this matrix thing that we're in. I call the spell that people are under the God spell. Only because it takes a certain mentality to be drawn into this. And you have to start when they are children. You have to start when you are young and start getting brainwashed into it early. And that's just not religion. That's everything. Every, there are there's differences. Even though we claim that there are not, oh, we're all the same. These are delusional people who say that. We're all the same as far as uh, mankind. Yeah, human beings, as far as, well, I can't even say that, but prototype, physical man, yes. And that in itself created a whole lot of diversity in the people, in human, um, mankind, species itself. It's pretty sad that we are supposed to, and even the ones who came up with evolution shows you right there that you rather come from a monkey that we still have, let's say apes, and we still have apes today, shows you it wasn't a fucking ape. And if it was an ape, it was an ape by its damn self. Okay? Because you say missing link, there was no missing link. The missing link is a black person. A black person. Okay? Who had someone who had black skin, dark skin. It could have been black. So it goes so deep, too deep, to where you get so much backlash when you speak about it. And even from the prototypes themselves, black people, even argue amongst themselves because they're so brainwashed in the system of thinking that, well, if we, listen, there's not a black person on this planet that can do away with racism. Mm-mm. Because you can't change people. People have to change themselves. Philosophy tells you that you can't change the people. They have to say if you want change, you got to do it yourself. So how can you change people to make them see you for who you are? To make them see themselves. You can't say that you come from a people and then decide, I don't want to come from these people, so I'm going to just make up a theory and say that this is where we came from to exclude black people from this process. Because that's what you see, black being washed out, wiped away, left and right. And it's been happening for a very, very long time. And even the memories of these people. By teaching kids, teach them while they're young. Learn them while they're young. You gotta ingrain it in them while they're young. I used to hear that growing up. Fucking sad, really. Okay, so that goes to just show you right there. Nobody stopping thought, and I can understand why. Yeah, you got people who don't care about snuffing your ass out, killing you, and just to shut you the hell up, just to keep truth from being told because they don't want to deal with it. You got people who are willing to damn take your life, and and still doing it, still to this day, and so proud of the shit that they can make movies. You won't see no movies up until recently of a great African civilization. But back then, oh hell no. We ain't about to show y'all that shit. Nah. We gonna show you what you off us. And then he made a ass of slave movies. Like, so you knew our history. Why don't you show the real history? Tell the real story. How about show how when you came into Kemet and learned from these people and all this other stuff, and then you can make a story about how you portrayed the friendship and all that other stuff, and then people can get a clear understanding of what really happened. And we can, and that means everybody, because white people are under the illusion that this never happened. And you can show history. You can say every time you bring up some artifact um, that showed way back before their time, you know, you bring up some stuff about their religion. I say they because I speak about I'm speaking about Jesus in particular because it all started with him, the most famous damn celebrity ever, the icon ever, Jesus. Bring up Jesus. Oh, say he was black. Oh, your ass might get fried. But it's a shame. It's so sad that in 2019 we still have not evolved as a people. That's pretty fucking sad, don't you think? That in 2019 we're still discussing when you still have people fighting for rights just to be treated like a human being, and it's people you came from. Oh, don't you dare say that. There's no way. There's no way we came from black people. I have African descent. I'm shocked I have African descent. Well, somebody need to show you what transmutation is. Teach you what happens biologically. How man progressed and evolves into something else. I'll use evolution on that. But I ain't gonna use no evolution on coming from fucking ape. Because the ape had to make something to create what we see today. So if there is this ape, black people, the person that had to have quote unquote mate with the ape had to have already been like this. Had to. In order for you to see what you see today. You just can't pull shit out the air. You can't make nothing into something. It has to be something. Even if you don't see it, it's something. So it doesn't make sense to just be pulling stuff out of our asses and saying, oh, I don't believe it. It just cannot be. Why not? So who really hates themselves? Who really hates themselves? Everybody? Because you can't say, it's not a black thing. It's not a black thing because in order to hate yourself, everybody, you have to hate everybody. Because we all came from the same daggone prototypes. Plural. And I will even theorize on this myself about how I feel that it happened because I'm looking, I observe everything. And to me, the woman is the most beautiful creature to be created. Looking at mankind and animals, all nature is beautiful. Nature is beautiful. Even in its ugliness, it's still beautiful, right? I can see the different body types, like structural, and down to the nose, the lips, you have a plethora of different, from coily to straight, from wide to thin, lips and all, eye colors of different ranges. So when you see all of that in black, it's simply showing that obviously this is the prototype for everything else. You can eliminate the origin and still survive. Not as long. Not as long. So you have to keep going back into the origin. You got to keep dipping back into the origin to to sustain life. So you can't get rid of the origin, right? It's crazy to think that they'll just clear out all blacks. That, and for people to even say that, that's ridiculous because you are destroying. If you ever, there's this part in Queen of the Dam, I think that's what you call it, where Aaliyah says, "If you kill me, you kill yourself." And she was speaking about the vampires. You cannot take away a people. You cannot eliminate a people and have life everlasting. How are you going to constantly reproduce? How are you going to cure yourself? How are you going to fix certain things that happens to the body that you are not built to fight? You cannot get rid of the origin. You can sweep the origin under the rug and make it not look like the origin and mask it as something else and keep dipping back into it without a people understanding or knowing. Of course, that's possible because that's what's happening. However, when you look at reality and you understand what took place, the design in humanity, you can't get away from the prototype. You can't get away from black. The color spectrum starts with black, and then you'll see it transition into all other colors, and as it gets lighter, and it gets lighter because it starts to lift away, take away, recess. So if you want to look at it as a superiority thing, which you really can't without going again back to the origin and seeing that as the dominant, and all else that comes from it are subs, or you can say, although it is subs, this is the next step of man. We constantly evolve into the next thing. So even with white, if that's the case, then that must be the end all thing before it transmutes or transforms into something else. So if it started with black and it ended with white, the only thing to do then is to go back into itself in order for it to continue what it's doing, in order for it to survive. So in that case, the process, if you want to go that far, the process is superior. I guess. I hate that. I even hate that word because it's just it divides. It divides the people. It messes with your mind. So to look at humanity, look at us for who we are. Us meaning mankind. We have to get out of the denial stage. We have to get out of lying to ourselves. And we have to get into a point where we're choosing to open our minds. We're choosing to learn and understand something that we refuse, maybe, understanding, because it messes with our minds and hearts in a way to where it brings upon certain emotions that you probably can't help or handle. Whatever the case may be, it's still a problem that needs to be addressed, no matter how you look at it. It's an ugly problem. It's a nasty little mental disease, and racism will continue to keep being a mental disease for many people until they come into accept it. So there needs to be, instead of like you have Alcohol Anonymous and 12-step programs to help you get over depression and battling things that you can't handle yourself. I really feel that people need a 12-step program. Hear me out. People need a 12-step program to where they take classes, right? And they get to see how a people evolve into something else. And when they see that, that'll be the first class, right? And then from that they can start expressing how they feel about it. And it's 12 steps to it. You start to talk about it and you deal with the anger and you grieving and all that kind of stuff. All the basic shit and the stuff that we go through. I really feel that that's gonna help. That can help people. It's just an idea. I don't know. I mean, it's just an idea. Hell, we got 12-step programs for every damn thing else. Get off drugs and all kind of stuff. I mean, this is messing with people's minds so much to where it dominates the world. How can there not be a 12-step program for racism? If there has ever been a need for any 12-step program, that would be one. That would definitely be one, because if it wasn't for racism, I don't believe we'll have half these damn problems we have right now, that we have to get on drugs and alcohol and all this other stuff. And it just wouldn't be a problem. None of this stuff would have happened if people can deal with reality. But because they can't deal with reality, and we are so, and even we're softening each other up so much now, and they're trying to make people so damn sensitive to where you can't speak about something without somebody coming at you, some backlash, or we need a discussion about this. There needs to be some damn control or something. I mean, it's crazy, especially with this abortion law shit. They're really, really smacking down on, even though they don't say it, on people of color, especially black people, aka what they want to call them, niggas. So there is a serious problem where the 12-step program for racism is very much needed, and I really feel like this can be a cure to heal people of this illness, because it really is an illness. It's a mental one, and an emotional one, and a physical one. It takes over everything. It dominates everything. Ignorance dominates everything. So I'm just throwing that out there. 12-step program for racism. And this is Race to Consciousness through a philosophical perspective.